We are back with another episode here on Elevated Barbers Podcast. My name is Bradford Kelly, the business-minded barber, and I'm here with...
This is Delmar The Prvnce, co-host of the one and only Elevated Barbers Podcast. Let's start the show.
The information that you're giving them is going to elevate them financially, mentally, emotionally, and going to rise, and they're going to elevate.
We are here trying to elevate barbers as they're elevating the industry.
The one and only Elevated Barbers Podcast. Let's start the show.
Now, we told you that we were going to be bringing you the best this season. We are trying to make sure that we elevate the industry with the people that we bring on. And so we are trying to be the number one podcast for business growth in this industry. And we got one of the best business minds coming to the stage right now. His name is Mike Andrews. You might know him as Ideal Barber, but let's clap it up for Mike Andrews. How you doing, sir?
Oh, what's up, good people? Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yeah, man. Glad to be back, man. I'm looking forward to this conversation. The first one ended off with a bang. You know, I usually say it starts with a bang.
Yeah.
That one ended with a bang. So yeah, let's hop right into it, fellas.
Let's hop right into it. So Delmar, I'm gonna ask you a question first because Mike is about to drop a lot of gems on us. Are you ready to receive some gems?
Always.
All right, Mike, are you ready to receive some gems?
Let's go. Absolutely.
All right.
Greg,
are
you ready to receive some
gems?
Yeah, let's do it.
Delmar, are you ready to give some gems?
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right, we about to drop some gems. We about to give some gems. We're going to receive some gems. So I hope you all at home are taking notes. Get your notepads out. This is going to be one of the ones that you want to get your notepads out and listen and learn. So my first question to you, Mike, is about your current mindset. What is on your mind right now when you think about the business of barbering? You think about the state of barbering. You think about the future of barbering. What is Mike Andrews? What is Ideal Barber thinking about right now?
Great question. What's on my mind right now? Gratitude, man. Like, I'm grateful to be a barber in this era. I think if barbers are really able to step back, you know, get outside your own lens of what you have going on, if y'all are paying attention, this is the best time to be a barber. Like with AI, you know, with social media, with the tools, like the number of like high quality tools that are available for barbers.
Yeah,
it's just a great time to be a master barber. So yeah, man, I'm just grateful, and I'm looking forward to like expressing that gratitude through my works. So that's how I see it, man. What a great time to be a master barber.
I'm with you, man. And last episode, last time we had you on, you dropped a gem on us about the difference between a barber and a master barber. And so I keep saying, I keep hearing you talking about, you know, it's a great time to be a master barber. And just as a reference point for people that didn't get a chance to watch the last episode, what is your distinguishing factor when it comes to being a master barber?
Yeah, I mean, we all know state boards. Each state board has a different set of rules. So, I mean, a lot of it is semantics. If you ask me, I like to title myself what the state board calls me in Georgia, which is a master barber. Yeah. And I think that's an important distinction because of the influx of new barbers into the industry who aren't licensed. So I guess it's more about licensed barbers as opposed to unlicensed barbers. That's kind of how I want to make that distinction.
So if you have not done this already, we're going to need you to like, subscribe, and turn your notifications on so that you can get the latest gems from everything going on here at Elevated Barbers Podcast. Yeah, and I'm with you too. Delmar, feel free to jump in because I'm rapid with the questions because I'm so I'm juiced for this. So one thing that I want to ask you, Delmar, when you're thinking about the state of the industry, you're thinking about the future of the industry, you're thinking about what's the next steps for you, right? When you think about this, what comes to your mind? Because it's a lot of opportunity, as Mike said. It's a great time to be a barber. So what's coming to your mind, Delmar?
First thing that comes to my mind is, you know, just educating or dropping knowledge to younger upcoming barbers that are coming into the industry, just so that they don't make the same mistakes that I made coming in, you know, thinking that I knew and understood business. And then when you take business courses or when you start to educate yourself and really invest in your mind and your personal development, then you start to realize, hey, I don't know business like I thought I did. You and I took a class earlier this year together, and everything that I thought I knew about business, I was completely wrong. And from that point, it changed my mindset on how I view business. It changed my mindset on how I conduct business. And I think we stated on the previous episode that a lot of barbers get their license and they think, oh, well, I'm my own boss, I'm my own man. I run my own business. Yeah, that's cool, but all you did was you got a certification saying that you can cut hair legally, but you still had to, invest the time, get around those people who are business minded, which is why we have this podcast, Elevated Barbers Podcast, which is why we have people like Mike Andrews, the ideal barber, on Elevated Barbers Podcast, because we're speaking to the person who wants to grow in business. Anybody can teach you how to fade, right? There's tons of videos on YouTube on how to fade. They've been doing it since 2012. I think is when YouTube came out. That's when I started. I started watching YouTube videos on how to fade. But how many people out there are really giving you genuine knowledge on how to conduct business? How many people are teaching you how to calculate your numbers? How many people are teaching you how to track expenses? It's so many different avenues that we can talk about in just business. And it applies to everybody. Yeah, we're talking about the business of barbering, but you have to know and understand business to be a successful business owner.
Yeah. And I like to always mention the fact that this is my personal perspective. A barber is a business owner, just based on your license and the fact that the government gives you a 1099. You dictate your destiny. And if you don't take this proper seat in the role that you have, you'll always be an employee-minded barber. Mm-hmm. And an employee-minded barber will always look at their surroundings and complain about what's happening. But the owner is going to look at their surroundings and see opportunities because they know that they can change what their surroundings are. And so, Mike, you are somebody that has a brain, and you are someone that has used it to your benefit. Mm-hmm. To, one, improve your life. Secondly, you've improved the lives of those that choose to work with you and collaborate with you. And then you also have used your brain, and you are starting to learn how to impact others from a teaching perspective. Now, before we get into the teaching perspective, I want to get into the mindset that allowed you to focus on growth and focus on how you became ideal, right? Because you're a very structured person. And I saw some stuff where there's certain things that you do in business that most people don't do, whether it comes to like a pre-consultation, during consultation, or a post-consultation. Like you got some stuff, man.
Yes, sir.
And so I want to tap into your brain, man. What mindset? How have you gone into what you do and structured it in a way that you can give it to others?
Great question. The mindset, I guess it came from, if I go all the way back, right before I, owned my own barbershop, before I even had, a partnership with another barbershop that I had before I opened up Ideal Barbershop. Before I even got my license, I was kind of fighting with my draw towards education and self-development. And I went to college and I did about 2 years, about a year and a half, 2 years. And it wasn't that I was struggling with the curriculum or the fact that college wasn't for me. It was more, I didn't like the broad portion of college. I didn't like having to do general studies because I wanted to be a graphic designer when I started school, right?
Oh, so really?
Yeah, man. I wanted to be a graphic designer. And then it was just the monotony of having to do the general stuff that kind of just sucked me out of the mindset of being passionate about that, right? So if I tie that into what's going on now in my mindset, I've never lost that connection with education. And it took me a few years. It took me to get into my 30s, probably, where I really had that mindset to realize I have kind of been running away in a sense from my purpose is to educate and getting back into it. Self-development has always been high on my list of priorities. Just as much as I love cutting hair, I love self-development. You know, I got into some great books early. I had some amazing mentors early that had nothing to do with cutting hair. It was about self-development, about entrepreneurship. And it gave me some crazy books that just opened up my perspective enough for me to be like, all right, I always want to keep tapping into it. So I guess right now where I'm at currently.
You list like 3 of the books. Give us 3 of the books that broke your mind and said, let me grow.
I can grab
you got them behind you?
Yeah.
Look at him. He still got the evidence. He got the receipts, as people be saying. Now. He got the receipts.
This one might be hard to find. You might have to look on Amazon.
177 mental
toughness secrets of the world class by Steve Seibold. This is a book that my mentor gave me a while ago. This was back. I was selling insurance when I was like 19. I joined a network marketing company way back in the day. And one of my mentors, an older black guy in the business forever, he showed me this book and it just blew my mind. Like one of the first chapters, and the chapters are really short, like they're 1-page reads, and it's like 177 individual like stories or facts. But one of them was just talking about the different types of mentalities. I can jump into one real quick if we got time for it. You know,
we got time. Let's go.
So let's hop right into it. One of them was the mindset between the world class versus the middle class. Just a few of them. It says the middle class competes, the world class creates. The middle class avoids risk, the world class manages risk. The middle class lives in delusion, the world class lives in objective reality. I had this book when I was 19 years old, y'all. Like, think about how this changed, how I see things. The middle class loves to be comfortable. The world class is comfortable being uncomfortable. The middle class has a lottery mentality. The world class has an abundance mentality. The middle class is hungry for security. The world class doesn't believe security exists. That's just like the first 7. So
I need
this. And you said there's 177 of those?
No, so this is just the first. This one doesn't even get into the first secret. This is just an intro, if you will, like a forward for the book.
I'm gonna need to get that book, bro.
I need that
book.
Wow.
I'm gonna start doing a live series too. I'm just gonna go through them one by one and just talk about what it means to me currently and what it meant to me back then. But this is one of the books. Also, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that one.
First book I ever read.
That one, man.
First book.
Crazy.
My dad gave it to me when I was 15.
Changer.
I wasn't ready for it. Who Stole My Cheese is a really short read.
I haven't heard that one. I heard about it though.
Yeah, that was a good one. And Cash Flow Quadrant. You mentioned most barbers are, you said business owners. Yeah, but I mean, I think all barbers fit into one of those 4 categories. It's just a matter of how you see what you do.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you know the quadrant, Delmar?
No, I don't.
Yes. Right. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Brad. Go for it, Brad.
Okay, so you tell me if I'm wrong, because Rich Dad Poor Dad, he also talked about it, if I'm not mistaken. He said you got the employee, then you have the self-employed, then you have the business owner, and then you have the investor.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's the quadrant that I'm familiar with. Is that the same one you're talking about?
That's it. Yep.
Yeah.
So that was another one of the books that I was exposed to early, y'all. So just to answer your question completely, like you were asking about the mindset that brings me where I'm at today. Is that was the question? Yeah. So it's a balance between self-development and just trying to help my industry grow. Like, I'm really, really grateful for what I've been able to accomplish. And I think the best way to share that gratitude is to bring the next barber up. And you mentioned something, Delmar, when you were talking about, helping the new barbers. But for me, I feel like my passion and my lane, my niche, if you will, for helping barbers are the veterans, like the ones who may think that they've already reached their cap. It took me a while, but after I was busy and cutting for a while and doing really well, when I brought in the other layers of value into my business after I can already cut, that's when things kind of took off. So I want to help a barber who was in my position maybe 10 years ago, 5-10 years ago, who feels stuck, who maybe feels like, 6 figures is my cap, who feels like, man, I might need to keep going up on my prices to win, or I need to maybe get a part-time job to be able to afford insurance, right? That's the kind of barber that I want to be able to tap into and say, nah, bro, like today is the best day. Today is the best time to really take it to another level. So
Absolutely.
That's the mindset.
There's 4 types of barbers that I love talking about because 3 of them are in danger of burning out, and then the other one is the one that
Mm.
we're all really saying that we want to be. However, we'll keep the behavior of the 3 that's going to burn out. So the
Okay.
first barber is the beginner barber. This is the one that's focused on trying to get their clientele. They're focused on getting booked up, and they are in danger of building a business that they don't really want to be in. They don't know it because they don't know how to attract the ones that they really want to attract. They just are trying to get any and everybody. And some of that you need, but if you really understood who you are and where you're trying to grow to, you can learn how to now attract the people that you really want.
Mhm.
Then you have the barber that is focused on making the money that they want to make. I call this the booked barber, but the booked barber is always the broke barber as well, because this barber, although they have the people coming into their chair, they always are complaining about making more money. Like, it's just they don't even realize how much they saying like, bro, I'm broke, I need more money. And it's just like, well, if you booked, why you feel broke all the time? And so that barber also is in danger of burning out because of different reasons. Then you have the bound barber, and this is the barber that I say has reached a level of success. They are getting money that they wanted to make. They're making it. However, they don't have the time and they don't have the freedom that allows them to live the life that they want. Everything is from behind the chair and they're chained to it and they feel it. They finally feel it. Like you was talking about, it's like, bro, like I'm good from the money perspective and I got clientele, but every time I want to go and do something, I feel this pressure of not being able to do it.
Stuck.
You know what I mean? Like I'm either going to sacrifice $2,000 because I want to take a week off or more, right? Or I'm going to accept that I got to lose $2,000, $3,000 and try and work harder before I leave or work really hard when I get back. And that all 3 of those barbers are going to burn out. They're going to quit, or they're going to become depressed behind the chair where they're living in a place that they don't want to be in, but they don't know how to change it. And so the ceilingless barber is what we really want to get to, right? This is the barber that makes is able to work because they want to, not because they have to. This is the barber that is able to have the things that they want and they don't have the consequence of money. Why? Because they've built their business in a way that allows them to grow towards freedom, not towards just making income. It's a 2 totally different mindsets. And I know that you speak a lot to barbers thinking higher than just the labor behind the chair. Like you mentioned something when it came to some people just get to this point where they feel like I just got to keep raising their prices to make more money. And that's not true. It's not true.
Not at all.
But how does a barber start to understand that that's not true, Mike? How do you get a barber to get to that realization? Because they're like, man, well, how in the world am I going to make more money if I don't keep going up on my prices?
No, for sure. So if we go back to the root cause, I believe it's education. Like it is what it is, y'all. I think, and that's why I feel like my passion is to help out the veteran barbers, because there's a certain point where your skill set kind of creates an ego floor. Does that make sense? To where you're so good that the clients support you, you're making really good money. And that's another side note too. I don't think barbers realize like how not easy, but like efficiently you can make money as a barber. Does that make sense? So there comes a certain point where a veteran barber, their ego stops them from learning, and that you think that because I have this skill set, that is going to carry me to maybe influencer or celebrity barber status. And I think that's the wrong mentality to have. And unfortunately, that's kind of what's shown on social media. And what most barbers face, is like, the busier I get, the more popular I get, the more I can raise my prices. Then eventually I can be seen by one of these clipper companies or maybe a booking company that can support me by having me be an influencer. I just think that's a terrible dream that a lot of barbers are being sold. And I hope that veteran barbers are able to tap into education. But that's the problem, Brad. I think that unlike traditional college, there's levels to education, y'all. And just because you can cut your ass off, I don't know if y'all cool with me cussing on this podcast.
We would prefer not, but that was a small one. That's a small one.
We can bleep that out. I'll make sure I keep it PG-13, but just because you can cut your tail off doesn't mean that there's no more room for you to grow and I think that's just a limiting mindset. And because we don't have a master's program for barbers, right? You got your license 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Now all of your bravado comes from your experience, but your experience might have been you doing the same thing for the last 20 years, right? So
Yeah.
you're not truly sowing into your own self through personal development. So I think that's the root cause of it. But how does a barber get out of that? They just have to be open and letting their ego go to be able to suck in more information. And you really got to change. I think most importantly, probably the biggest gem is monitor your social media, monitor what you're consuming.
Yeah.
I feel like that's been the theme so far this season, man. Just, removing your pride out the way, removing yourself out the way, and personal development, because you can't grow as a business owner without developing yourself first as in your personal life. Whatever you do in your personal life, it often reflects in your business life. So if you're not growing as a person, you're not growing as a man or a woman, then how can you expect your business to grow?
Now,
Like
I
you
heard
said, you got a license 20 years ago, and from that point, it's just experience, right?
Yeah.
But there's things about this industry that we have to learn, but the only way that we can learn it is if we go out and invest in it. If we go out and make relationships with the people who are doing what we want to do, or they're at the point that we're trying to get to. Like Brad spoke about being a cylinder's barber. That should be the goal for everybody. But it's only a small percentage of people that think that way in this industry, because I often say people think that they're going to fade their way into retirement. Yeah, you're going to fade into retirement, all right? You're going to fade out. You're going to fade out. But, I mean, that can't be – listen, your mindset shouldn't be, I'm going to fade until I can't fade no more. You got to have an out. You can't be stuck to the chair. You can't be chained to the chair.
Yeah.
Like, you should want to go live that life that you want to live without being afraid to lose money. If you got other streams of revenue coming in, and it can be in this industry, you just have to unlock your mind. But the only way to unlock your mind is through knowledge.
Facts.
Now, Mike, you brought up something deep, and Delmar, he really added a lot of value to what you said. But I want to try and come to you to get this gem that you said out. You said that there's different levels of education. When we graduate high school and you go into collegiate education, academia, whatever you want to call it, there's levels. You got to get your associates, then you get your bachelor's, then you get your master's, then you get your PhD, right? Yeah. And there's different levels even within the barbering industry, but we have not tiered it.
Facts.
You are a barber, and then you're like a master barber.
Nah, I mean, it's crazy because there's no standard for continued education. There's state board required continued education, right? But if we're being real, which I know y'all are, it's just a matter of you signing on, watching some sanitation videos, or maybe just some quick stuff on, I don't know, whatever the local rules are with your industry, but you're not really elevating your education. And if you look at corporate America, income increase comes typically with not only experience, but education too, right? And it's tough to question somebody when you see their resume and you see that they got 2 masters, they have a bachelor's, and they have a doctorate. That's a floor now of income, right? That you have to now pay that person. I think in our industry, we ignore that. Like, no, that's just corporate America, or no, I mean, I'm going to keep cutting, and eventually, I'm going to be seen, or I'm going to be able to charge $100 a hair, whatever it may be, right? I just think that's a false belief that today we have the power to overcome that. But
so I want to dive into this, because for those that want to get to a higher level, right? We have different stages of barbers. They could be a beginner barber that wants to be a better beginner barber. They want to make sure that they grow the right way. They may be booked and want to raise their income, but they don't know how to grow the right way. And they like, hey man, you telling me I shouldn't raise my prices? What are you saying right now? Then you got also the barber that is making the money, but they feel trapped. And they feel like they're being suffocated by being in the industry, because there's a life that they want to live, but they can't really do it. And they want some freedom. What is the next level of learning in your opinion? What do you feel like? How does that person graduate? How do they get to the next level?
I don't think there's one
Is there like a
catch-all for every
associates,
barber. I don't
masters?
think there's one catch-all for every barber. I think it depends on what stage you're in. It depends on how many years you have behind the chair. I think it depends on your market, on what
Yeah.
is the next move or the next piece that you need to bring into what you already offered to people. I think additional services are a great way to increase your income, but I don't think that works for everybody. I think
Yeah.
offering a course is a great way if you have the expertise and the receipts, most importantly, that
Yeah.
you can help somebody through your education or your ability to communicate. I do believe that a lot of barbers will be able to tap into becoming a influencer or a, what do you call that? Like an affiliate with the clipper company.
Mhm.
But outside of that, it just depends. I think it's case by case. And I don't want to put a general umbrella over the next step that every barber needs to make. I think it depends on their goal, what kind of shop they're working at. You know, are you in a commission shop? Are you in a shop where you're getting paid an hourly rate wage? Are you in a suite? Are you in a barber shop? Right? All those different types. I think I need to give them. I would recommend different tactics to go to the next level.
Yeah. And I think like what you said, at the minimum, you have to want to grow and you have to want to invest in education.
Mhm.
Yep.
Would you be able to say that? Like you like get to a humility within yourself, as you spoke about, be grateful for where you at, but always want to grow. But you got to be willing to invest in your mind so that your mind can sweat more than your body does. So let's get into some of what you provide, Mike. Let's
Hey,
get into some of the things that you actually are doing. You spoke about um having a mastermind. Now I
yep.
want to tap into that because you provide education and you said you don't market to the beginner barber, even though they can take some of the things that you use. However, you do know your target market. And there are a lot of veteran barbers that are on here that may be in that I have some money, I am kind of successful, but I'm feeling a ceiling. I'm
Yeah,
feeling
yeah,
it. Right. And they are trying to take the ceiling off and create a new floor so that they have higher heights that they can reach. So, what is it that you provide, Mike? What is it that you talk about?
yeah. Good question. I appreciate it. I think most importantly, I help barbers with clarity. I think that's the most important thing that we as service providers, because I like to generalize the entire industry that you are a service provider first. So we need to
Yeah.
start with that, right? I think once you're clear on that and you're clear on where you want to go, so you're clear on where you are, you're clear on where you want to go. Now we have to fill that gap with your goals and your values. And so I
Yeah.
start off with mindset training, right? Let's understand what your goals are. Let's understand what your values are so that your goals aren't detached from your values, because that's when things get weird, right? And you start feeling burnt out because you're not attached to your values. For me,
Yeah.
I feel like it's hard for me to feel burnt out because the things that I'm doing is where I want to go. If that makes sense
Yeah.
to y'all?
Yeah.
So
That makes
like
a lot of sense.
that's the first part is before we could talk about tactics or price increase strategies or consultation strategies, let's get your mindset, let's get focused, let's get clear on what your goals and your values are. But I think the floor for barbers, all barbers need to understand and have a appreciation and a clear idea of what their value is per minute. I think
Yeah.
you need to
Oh,
understand how much you feel like you're not just worth, but how much value the market that you currently cut in, what's the value per minute? I think that's a great starting point for most barbers, because I
yeah.
feel like price points are all over the place and you may
Mhm.
get paid, for an hour doing a beard hydration treatment, you may make, $80, or for a hour haircut and beard trim, you may make $40. Well, how much are you really making per hour? Because we got to get clear on that before you can change anything. That's the way I approach it.
No,
Let's get
I
first.
agree 1,000%. If I could like raise that, I want to like lift that up
Yeah,
because
for sure.
I think that's a huge misconception in the industry, and it shifts your mindset. Or I should say, it allows a person to see if they're employee minded. Because if
Mhm.
you're employee minded, you think, how much do I make per hour? You think, how
Mm,
much do I make per hour? But we don't get paid by the hour. Like,
mm,
we get paid by the minute because our services are not hourly. Our services are minute based. So when you're charging per minute, or understanding what you're worth per minute based on I'm sure you have a ground level that you're speaking towards, but there's a base that you should be getting, and you may be losing money simply by adding stuff that you don't need to add and doing things that you don't need to do, and it takes away from your dollar per minute. Because if you do that more times throughout the day, now you done lost 60, 70, $100 in a day. Multiply that by 4 or by 5, then multiply that by 4, and that's your month, and then multiply that by 12, and that's your year that you didn't lost money because you're not paying attention to the dollar per minute that you're earning. I think 100%. That was very key, and that's something that all barbers, I feel like, really need to hear and pay attention to. That was jewels.
Yeah, I think that's where it starts. I think, like, to you, what your point was about the 3 different types of barbers, there's levels to it, right? But I think at the very beginning of you elevating or you growing as a professional, we have to have a floor. We have to understand where we're starting, and then from there I can pack on more value on top of that. That's the way I see it. But how much you're earning per minute, and then I think there's a lot of things that a lot of barbers are doing that decreases that value because we see the craft as sometimes we operate like it's a hobby, quite frankly, right? And we may not be busy on Tuesday between 2 and 4, so we go spend the money by going out to lunch. Not saying you can't do that, but you just have to be aware of, I'm actually taking away from my bottom line by not respecting my business hours, respecting the time that I said I was going to be at the shop. And sometimes barbers just do a little too much with their schedule, and clients are confused, or they feel like they can't rely on you being where you say you're going to be on a consistent basis.
Yeah. Delmar, tap into this, bro, because I know that you were at the place at some point in your mind where you were the barber that Ideal is talking to.
I was too.
We all were. We all are this. Like, I'm looking at my mind and I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm like, bro, I remember being there, and I remember not thinking like this. I remember not being there. Delmar, talk about your transition. Talk about how you were able to get to this point where now you can be in conversations and also understand the conversations and also give value in these type of conversations, because we've all lived this. So Delmar, get on in here, man. Tell the people something.
Yeah, man. I definitely appreciate everything that Mike is saying. I know for me, when I first got in the industry, man, I was charging $15 for adults. So I'm just using this as an example. I was charging $15 for adults. This was back in 2011, 2012. And I was doing everything. I'm talking about mohawk, beard, design, enhancements, razor, everything for $15. And it was cool for the client because, he cheap. I'm getting all this for $15. And then when I started understanding, man, I need to provide more value. And also, why am I doing all this for $15 when I started learning that everything that we do is a service? If I'm going to do a design, that's a service. I can't be throwing a free design in with my haircut price because it's taking time. So now to what Mike was speaking of and what Brad was speaking to, if I'm charging 30 and then I start adding extra services on, but I'm still charging this flat 30, I'm actually losing money because I'm giving too much for the value cost. If I'm going to charge 30, it just need to be for a specific service. So for me, I know I charge $60 for a haircut and a beard trim. But if you want a shampoo, I charge X amount of dollars, but you're getting how should I say, are getting more value for everything that you're paying for, because I'm giving you the shampoo, I'm giving you the haircut, beard trim, and the razor. And it makes the cut a lot better too. So when I started understanding charging properly, and then I started seeing other people, they would stay under me. So I brought the industry up too where I'm at, because they I don't know, they was just charging wrong, man. Like everybody, I was like, man, y'all doing too much for so little. Like, why are y'all you cheating yourself at the end of the day? And people will come to you because you're cheap. It ain't because they value what you do. They come to you because you're cheap.
Now, Mike, I want to hear what your thoughts are on some of these. I'm not trying to get some of your course out of you, but just the perspective that a barber should have when they're thinking about elevating like this? What do you like? Give a little bit more on what you
No,
give,
ask me.
how you do it.
Yeah, details. I'm cool with giving details, y'all. So we good. It's just a matter of there were 16 other barbers, so 17 altogether in this barbershop in Atlanta, right? And so I remember walking in, even though I had a solid foundation of like being able to cut. I did pretty well in barber school. I had a little bit of a following out of barber school. It was kind of crazy. But like I walked into a shop with 17 barbers, y'all. So like from the jump, I was already thinking about how am I standing out? Like, I don't know if y'all had that experience, or if you worked in a big shop before, or even if it wasn't a big shop. Have y'all felt that man, I'm competing now and I have to understand what am I doing differently?
Yeah.
And for me, that
like,
fear,
how do I stand out in an environment?
How do I stand out?
That's better than me. Even their skill level is better than me, but how do I make myself attractive?
The way I look at it, the way I looked at it was, I feel like I am a McDonald's on a street, on a block with 17 other McDonald's. What makes my Big Mac any different than any of these other McDonald's on the same block, right? So for me, that's about positioning. That's what positioning means for barbers, right? So positioning is, what do you offer to a set of clients that makes you different? And for me, it was my punctuality, but it wasn't an afterthought. And I think that's where barbers lose a lot of value, is considering punctuality as something that I may do every once in a while, or, you know, I'm punctual when I first start off, and as long as I apologize, I'm good. But there's a lot of people out there who could care less about how dope your haircut is, and can care way more about the fact that they need to get in and out in a respectable time. So I do teach in the mastermind, in the course where I'm talking to veteran barbers, because I think as a foundation, you have to be able to cut. Right. Before we get into what else you can provide, get your cut game up first. So where you do at least a B haircut. I think that's fair. Right. Now, after we get there, after you're already there, now we can talk about how to take it to another level. And that's offering multiple layers of value. And we talked about it on the first episode, right? There's 3 different layers of value, right? There's external value, which is the fact that somebody needs a haircut. There's internal value, which is what your client feels frustrates them, like punctuality. Or somebody pushing their hairline back, or making their mustache too thin, frustrates them. And then there's philosophical value, which is what you have in common with that person. So I think I can talk to and help a barber amplify those other layers of value after we make sure that you have the base understanding of, number one, you're clear on where you're going, how much you should be charging, you have a game plan on your goals, and what values you are attaching to your goals. But after we get that started, now we can work on positioning in the marketplace. And I think a lot of barbers can benefit from being time-based. Currently, I offer time-based appointments. So when you go to my website to book an appointment with me, you don't see haircut and beard trim, mohawk. You see times.
Really?
You see times. You see 15-minute appointment, 30-minute appointment, 45-minute appointment, hour appointment. Now, once you click on that appointment, you'll see in the description what I'm capable of doing in that time frame. So there's clarity on what you're getting. But that's the base and the foundation that I speak of, and the positioning that I think is important, because most barbers won't do stuff like that. So if you're watching this, I think it could be beneficial if you just embrace this thought process of becoming time-based, because it will attract a different type of client.
Now that's dope. I like that you said that. And man, you said something that was so key. Like, the client don't care about an Instagram haircut. Like, that'd be us with that.
Some do, but I think we're way too focused as an industry on trying to put out these Instagram haircuts. Like,
majority of the clients don't know what an Instagram haircut look like.
Majority of the clients, in my opinion, don't know, and probably could care less, right? Like, they want to support you. So we can record a video of my haircut, bro. Like, they just want to be supportive. At the end of the day,
get out of there.
Listen, they got stuff to do. So I think that empathy, that's what we're talking about, is you being empathetic of somebody's time, to me, is a whole nother layer of value that if you can figure out a way to market that, promote it, and position yourself right, then it's a different type of client, and you're not competing with the other McDonald's on that block.
And that's what you're bringing up is powerful for the person that's really trying to elevate. Like, for real, if you're really trying to elevate, you're hearing some information right now from somebody that has been successful at doing what he's talking about. And you want to, I just really hope y'all got your pen and paper, because this is true value that you can implement right now. And if you don't understand how to do it, this is why you need to tap in to his mastermind, Amplify, because he breaks down this information in a way that you can receive it and then apply it so that your business can be amplified. I hope I said that right. I feel like it just felt good coming out.
Listen, the reason why I named it Amplify is I feel like it's a matter of turning up what you're already doing, right? Like there's no need, in my opinion, to change your identity. We just got to figure out how can we take what you already do and ratchet it up, right? Amplification isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about adding more technology, right? More structure, to what you're already doing, and that amplifies it. And I get that from, I was in church, I was the audio engineer, right? And I realized that, in order to make somebody sound more pronounced, you didn't have to turn the volume up. They didn't have to be the loudest one in the room. You add some more power and some amps to them. Now their voice is more pronounced. So that was kind of the foundation of what I wanted to create, man. Like, barbers don't have to be different. It's okay being just a barber. Let's just amplify that.
Yeah. And understanding that, so I went to the Vegas Expo yesterday.
Hey, dope,
right?
dope.
Yeah, I was at the Vegas Expo. It was fantastic. Real talk. It was fantastic. I think that those environments are good for someone that understands how they're trying to grow, because they can go and see what they can grow into, and they can connect with people that are grown, and then they can try and get around them, right? However, those environments, you can waste opportunities, because you can go for the party, you can go for just taking photos with people that you really know and all this stuff, and that's not adding any value. You just lost money because you could have been at the shop making it, or you could have you could just use it in a better way. However, one of the things that they were speaking about, Mike, and I think I want to get your perspective on it, because you use the term, there's nothing wrong with being just a barber. They were shooting that phrase down all over the place. Like, you are not just a barber, Don't let your clients just call you just a barber. And not like, don't let your clients, like, people are going to have what they're going to have. They're going to say what they're going to say. But I would like to understand more of what you mean, because I'm one of the ones that's like, don't say just a barber. Don't say that. But I don't think that you mean like limit yourself to cutting hair. Like, I don't think that's what you mean, because that's the perspective of what a barber is by America's standards. Even if you look it up in the dictionary, it says a person who cuts hair, and that's like totally not what a barber is in my head. Like, that's a part of what we do, but that's not the only thing we do. So can you go into that phrase and why you said it the way that you just said it? It's okay with being just a barber. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, man, because I think a lot of it is like I said, we have to start with, in my opinion, we have to start with the mindset. And when I did my first beta group, so when I say beta, I mean Amplify, the course, the mastermind that I have for barbers, it wasn't something that I just came up with and said, here, buy this, right? It was a matter of me understanding what a barber is really dealing with. And when I first opened it up about 2 years ago, that was a key point. We had a group call on Zoom, and barbers were so frustrated. It was like a pain point for them when the clients referred to them as just a barber. And I can see it in everybody's face. And you say that it's still going on even at the expo recently. Yeah. And this is something that they had a visceral reaction to, like, man, I'm not just a barber. Like, so I'm trying to understand. And I sat back and like, well, why is that? Right? Like, where's the emotion coming from? Why are we offended by being called just a barber? Like, for me, I'm just a barber too, but I think it's what I packed into, what I was able to bring to my barbering that elevates it, right? Like a dentist wouldn't be offended by you calling him just a dentist, or a doctor wouldn't be offended by you saying he's just a doctor. Why? Because they know that they've done so much already. They've already learned so much that there's nothing that you can take from me by calling me what I am. Does that make sense to y'all?
It makes sense. I think
I think it's perspective. It's perspective, in my opinion. And it's still, I think that there's nothing wrong with detaching yourself from who you are. I think it's okay with you embracing that. Maybe you feel away because you need to invest more into your craft, invest more into your personal development. So being just a barber is elevated right now in the mindset of the community and the mindset of society. Being just a barber isn't being on the bottom floor of society, right? It's not like something that you have to feel a way about, that you have to be, hide away from or block somebody from calling you that. Yeah, I'm a barber, y'all. And I'm doing some great things as just a barber.
But I think the difference is the justa part, because the just is the perspective of beneath. Just like the phrase, you're just to this, just to that, it already has a negative connotation on it. Versus, like you brought up, like a dentist or a doctor, you be like, oh, you're a doctor. Like that's what they say. They don't be like, oh, you're just a doctor. They oh, you're a doctor.
That's the thing I see. Yeah,
but that's perception of society, though, right?
Yeah, but who is going to change that perception? Are we going to say, don't you call me just a barber? Or are we going to elevate what we do as barbers? And so when you say I'm just a barber, now it's, it means something. I think that's what we have to focus on, is let's not try to call ourselves these elaborate names to get away from the root basic title. Let's amplify, let's raise up, elevate the title itself. And I think barbers need to look in the mirror and realize maybe I have contributed to the mindset of society thinking that being just a barber is a bad thing. But that's my perspective. And if somebody said I'm just a father, I'm not offended by somebody saying I'm just a father, right? Like, well,
nobody would use that term justa. Nobody would use that term justa.
I just don't.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would use that term justa with something that they respect ever.
Yeah, I understand. But that's external validation, and I'm not looking for external validation. I think we have to look at the root cause. Why do I need external validation? So let's stick there and let's find out what's the root cause of what am I feeling offended about?
Yeah, and I think what you're bringing out is we all have to understand what we define as a barber. Like it's our definition of what a barber is that allows someone to say justa and we get offended. You know what I mean? Like it's like, well, why? And I'm looking at myself right now through this conversation too, and I'm like, hey man, like why do I have a problem with you calling me justa, right? And I think it's because of my thought process on your perception of me. Like I don't need your validation. What I want is, I don't want you to look down on me because of what I'm doing. Like I want you to understand the power of what a barber is, and you don't respect it by the term you use in justa. And that's how I feel. And so I don't mind. Like it was one time me and my wife was going out to dinner. We was at this super nice restaurant, and I was I'm in there. I think I look good. I think I look good. My wife
yeah.
And so I'm in there and I'm talking to this guy, and he was just like, oh, what do you do? And I said it strong. I was like, I'm a barber. And he was just like, what? And my wife was like, why is he acting like this? Right? Because he didn't hear what I said. He thought I said I'm a baller. But the reason why I'm bringing that out is because I have a high respect of what we do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I value being called a barber, because for me, it's a business owner that's going somewhere. For me, it's not a janitor. You know what I'm saying? But in my mind, when the person uses the term, oh, you're just a barber, like that's like, nah, like I don't know what you meant by that. Delmar, what do you think about this, bro? What do you think?
I think it's because I understand both sides. I almost got into, let me say this. I had something happen, situation happen, and one of my clients called me just a barber because we had miscommunication or whatever, and I got offended by it. I just leave it at that. So, but
it was about to be some furniture moving.
Yeah, it was about to be some furniture moving. But this is my younger days. But I do see both sides, because I think in society that the title barber is looked down upon, and it could be because of the stigma that barbers are dope boys. It could be the stigma that barbers are unprofessional. So it's different stigmas out there about barbers, just depending on what side of the spectrum that you're on. But I also get what Mike is saying by saying I am a barber, because he's looking at it from the point of view that I'm a barber that's professional. I'm a barber that's business minded. I'm a barber who is constantly elevating. So from his point of view, from our point of view, yeah, we are barbers, but we're setting ourselves apart from the stigma that has been put on barbers. So I don't look down upon me as a barber. I'm proud to say that I'm a barber.
Yeah.
But I also been on the other side of it too, where it's been called just a barber. And I took it as disrespect because I know how people perceive barbers. So, and I don't mean to bring race into it, but I think it's more so on the African American side that it's looked down upon. I don't see a lot of people talk about Caucasian barbers, Latino, Hispanic barbers, the same way that they talk about African American black barbers. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's just me.
I think it's this is a powerful conversation. Like whenever
really
I
is.
talk about that title, just a barber, I even have it's a module in my course titled Just a Barber, right? Because I think it's such a powerful thing for us to focus on and truly get to the root. Again, I'm talking about the root, right? Let's figure out where these emotions are coming from, right? This is part of the emotional intelligence I think most barbers need to focus on is how can I be more emotionally aware of what triggers me? And I think being called a barber for me doesn't trigger me because of the value that I brought to it. So I think our industry needs to take accountability for where we are in the perception of being just a barber, right? And for barbers like you all who are super professional, who are elevating the industry, exposing us as now being leaders, right? As being thought leaders and having us produce content. And listen, I'm not going to brag, but I live in an amazing house, y'all, right? Like I'm in Atlanta. The housing market is great, but I have a great house and my wife and I are comfortable. We're blessed. If a young kid walks up to me and he asks me what I do for a living, I can't wait to tell him I'm just a barber.
Would you say just a, or would you say I'm a barber?
Yes, because I want to fight that stigmatism. I don't think we have to feel away. I'm just a barber. You know what I mean? And in his mind, he's like, dang, all this from just being a barber, right? As opposed to me saying, oh, I'm a grooming specialist, technology, tonsorial, blah, blah, blah.
But to your point though, Mike, to outsiders, we may be just a barber, but to our clients, we so much more.
Yeah.
I've been called a therapist, I've been called a brother, I've been called a friend, etc., uncle, whatever. Yeah, doctor, everything. So man, this a deep conversation, man.
Yeah, it's so deep. I love it. I love it because it really has us put the mirror back on you, right? You can be mad all you want about what society. Let's put a mirror in front of you real quick. Why do I feel a way about being called just a barber?
Yeah.
And I think it's about the value that we bring, right? And let's be frank, y'all, like barber school it don't take 4, 5, 10 years to be a barber, right? So as long as we understand, as I started as just a barber, I just had my license and then I invested into my education with this. And then I did this, right? And then I helped with this community organization. Then I have, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just packed more into it as opposed to being offended and trying to change people's minds. No, I just change for you the meaning behind it. That's how I view it. But I do understand it. And I can only understand it because I've been there and I see what's going on and how it feels.
And I like the introspective approach that you're using because no one should allow someone else to have power over their emotions.
Yeah, take that power back. That's what I want to say.
Take your power back by being able to embrace what you are and don't look down on what you are yourself. You know what I'm saying? And I think that phrase it might register within you because you feel in some ways and you don't like it.
Yeah.
And you're trying to fight that. And I know me too. Like I admitted to it. Like there's a part of me that's like, hey man, don't call me Justa. Don't use Justa. You know what I'm saying? And like call me a barber. I want you to call me a barber, like or be impressed, like, oh, you're a barber, you know, like that's what I want. But I'm living what I want people to see.
Yes.
So as I continue to live in that, they like you said, Delmar, like my clients, they respect my business.
Yeah.
Like they do. They honor a lot of what I do. I inspired a lot of my clients to do more in their life by what I was doing behind the chair and what I was doing with my business. So I'm getting this from you in this moment, that we cannot change society's perspective of us unless we collectively change who we see ourselves as, and put out a better vision for those that are looking. Like, we have to create what they see. But as a society, as a whole, we can't change everybody, and we can't even change the industry for what it is. Like, I don't, sometimes I don't be cool with the way society portrays barbering, because that's not me. But at the same point in time, I'm not trying to be society's version, right? I'm trying to be Brad. I'm trying to be another level of barbering. That's what I'm doing. So I like this conversation. This was good.
Yeah.
It's like what Mike say with his program, like, we got to identify your targeted audience. We ain't trying to appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
Mercedes-Benz and BMW ain't trying to appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody has a target audience.
Some people who fly. Yeah. This perfect example. Some people who drive and value Toyotas will look at somebody who drives a Mercedes and be like, what are you doing? It's just a car, right? It's because their values are different. It's not that they're a bad person. It's just they value other things, because they may be the same person who drives a Toyota, but then has a David Yurman $40,000 necklace on, right? So they just value different things. And it's not up to me to change somebody's values. It's up to me to market my values and attract the right person. So I think that's kind of what it comes down to, is I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. That's a low vibration starting point for me. Right now, I'm fighting for your respect, but let me create the respect first within myself, and then, put out my energy to where I want to go, to the clients I want to serve. And you don't have to worry about people coming to your chair feeling a way about, your price point or anything like that. That's kind of the big picture, man.
Yeah. I like that, boy. He done dropped some gems on me.
I wish I was at the expo, man. I'm going to have to start tapping in. Looking forward to 2025. I'm going to start tapping into more of these expos.
Yeah.
I like to have a somewhat of a contrarian opinion, just for the sake of conversation. Like, let's have some conversation.
And it really adds when people don't when people bring different perspectives. When people bring different perspectives, that's one of the things that limits a lot of people, is like you mentioned it earlier, is what they feed themselves through social media, and what they feed themselves through what they watch. However you consume information, a lot of times, if you are only on social media, you're in an echo chamber. You're going to only hear the things that you like anyway, because that's what you want to hear. So they're going to keep feeding you that. But you have to get outside of yourself so that you can grow. You got to take your tree and put it into a different pot so you can grow. You know what I mean? But I like this. Now let's get into some of what you have for 2025 and where you're trying to go. You saying you want to get into these expos, because you're one of those people that's high quality, and you're known online, like Instagram and different things, but you're not seen. You're like the mystery man, like you know what I mean? So what are you putting yourself, or desiring to put yourself in a more of a public view, not for notoriety, but to be of value to more people? What's your goal?
Yeah, so great question. That's exactly what I think I need. I would call it a calling. Like, it's time to help out barbers who do feel a way about being considered just a barber. It's time to help out the veteran barber who feels like they've hit their ceiling already, who doesn't understand how much is still left for them to contribute to society, right? How they don't have to, learn real estate to create passive income. I think barbers need to learn how to focus on what they do and how to amplify the value of what they bring. And once you do that, I think the floodgates get opened. So for me, 2025, I've been really intentional over the last 2.5 years of focusing. And it wasn't about growing on social media. I think I got to a point where I was gaining a lot of followers really quickly because of the type of gems I was sharing. And I decided to take my hands off of it and stop posting, because I needed to focus on really providing a dope product for barbers. So if I'm saying that I have a model that's worked for me, that's worked for barbers in my shop, multiple 6 figures in my shop, multiple barbers make 6 figures. And I'm able to help barbers across the country with the mastermind making 6 figures and, going part-time and learning how to really grow their individual business. if I'm going to come to the marketplace and say I have something, then I wanted to make sure that it was legit. So yeah, I spent the last couple of years refining my program, hiring consultants, course editors, right? Like really honing in on what a true course or a really an asset to a veteran barber should be, right? How do I help barbers and approach it from a barber's perspective? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, the last couple of years I've been building out this thing. I feel like it's appropriate to now step out and yeah, man, start doing more marketing. But I believe that barbers need to focus on one thing at a time. And a lot of times barbers just focus on marketing, but your website is janky, or you're focusing on social media, but your haircuts aren't all the way where they need to be yet, right? Or the product that you provide. So I kind of see what I'm doing now is the same thing, right? Like I'm honing in on making sure my product is A1. And now I can start saying, you know, come see what I can do to help you as a veteran barber. But it's not for everybody. I know you mentioned, you know, people enrolling, but I'm not trying to help, you know, hundreds of thousands of barbers right now. You know, I'm a family guy. I got 3 young kids and a wife. I'm trying to approach it in a way that still keeps me feeling sane. And I'm not trying to be an influencer, like you said, but I do understand that notoriety comes with this type of, you know, approach. So I'm going to hone in on helping a few barbers by going deep within their business, as opposed to just surface level help with a whole bunch of barbers. So yeah, man, 2025 is about shifting from, you know, being a barber entrepreneur. Have you heard about that? Like people call themselves barberpreneurs. I don't know if you guys ever refer to yourselves.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
So I've had like I've thought of myself as a barberpreneur in a way, but now I'm flipping that. And now I'm an entrepreneur first who happens to be in the niche of barbering. So it's time for me to help barbers by bringing more value to their offerings.
Yeah, I love that, man. Delmar, go ahead.
That's literally what I tell people when I run into people. Like as of late, they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" Because just having a conversation with me, they can tell that I'm really serious about what I do. And they're like, "So what do you do?" I say, "Well, I'm a businessman. I'm an entrepreneur, but I just so happen to be a barber. That's my craft. But I try not to be just skilled in just barbering, but understanding business and providing value also, because at the end of the day, like I say, you're not going to fade to retirement. So you got to be well-rounded.
So if you have not done this already, we're going to need you to like, subscribe, and turn your notifications on so that you can get the latest gems from everything going on here at Elevated Barbers Podcast. This has been outstanding, man. This has been outstanding. I want to go deeper, but I really feel like it would be us doing a disservice to the people that are watching, not to go deeper, but to try and extend past the gems that you really just dropped. Like sometimes you can water stuff down by trying to give too much. And I think that this was so potent.
We need a part 3.
I don't want to water it down, bro. we gotta get a part 3. We might need a part 3 in season 3. I don't know.
Yeah. You might be the first person to pop up twice in one season, man.
No,
we had my email you again.
We had one person do that, Cutter Concepts. He did that in season 2. He had 2 episodes.
That's right.
But this Mike, bro, value bombs, man.
Appreciate you, value man. Bombs. Yeah. I'm just trying to just make barbers more aware of their, and I call it a SWOT analysis, right? Their strengths, their weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. I want to make barbers aware of what's going on, right? Yeah. What are my true strengths? What are the strengths in the industry? What are opportunities, right? Where I can grow, where I can take advantage of positioning, right? What are I said strengths, and what are weaknesses? So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Yeah. Weaknesses, right? What are my weaknesses first as an individual? But you know, what else can I help out with that is a weakness within the industry? And then opportunities and threats. What are some threats? And I think there are some threats that barbers need to be aware of. And before we finish, I know you guys are kind of wrapping it up, but I just want to make sure for any barber.
Okay,
cool. Yeah, I mean, I just want to make sure that I reveal to barbers that there are some potential threats. And I don't think that you need to be scared per se, but just need to be aware of what's going on. That there's a lot of new people coming to our industry, right? There was a day where barbering was not an industry that people ran to. Y'all are, you know, veterans. Y'all been cutting for a little while. Like, it's crazy now that young kids will say, man, I want to be a barber. Like, I don't want to go to college. I want to be a barber. Like, that's still blowing my mind. But with that is the threat of barbers who are just providing just haircut value. And I want to make sure they understand that with AI, with different things being brought to the industry, I think even a garage barber can be a threat to a veteran barber. Yeah. And I want to have that conversation with veteran barbers, because just like, let's say 10 years ago, where there were some barbers who were so anti-enhancements that they kind of got left behind in a certain way. If they weren't already booked up, right? If they were so anti-enhancements, they weren't able to attract those new clients. That's kind of an example of what I'm talking about. Barbers not embracing what they need to learn from a business perspective, from a structure perspective. I think there's an opportunity for you to get left behind. There's a threat for you, because these garage barbers are learning how to cut hair on YouTube.
Yeah.
Now, I am a licensed barber, and I will always support licensed barbers, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the marketplace for a second. Can y'all go with me down this journey?
Let's go.
All right. So as an individual who needs a haircut, right? Outside of being a barber, let's think about our clients.
Mm-hmm.
Most clients do not know the difference between a B- haircut and an A+ haircut. Would y'all say that that's accurate?
Agree.
Absolutely.
Okay. So when it comes to cutting hair, what gave me my skill set was repetition, right? It was reps. I got my reps up. I got my shots up, right? Just like shooting the ball in the gym. You put enough shots up, you get to that free throw line, you keep practicing. Eventually, you're going to be knocking down those free throws, right?
Yeah.
Or new barbers, they don't have to necessarily go to barber school to make money. And they can learn through YouTube. And this is the thread I'm talking about, is that if you aren't positioning yourself differently, there's way more competition coming to the marketplace who doesn't have to get licensed and who can charge $30 or $40 for a haircut out their garage.
Yeah.
I see that happening, and I just want to make sure that veteran barbers are positioning themselves to not only be different, but to market different, to give different and more value.
Yeah.
So when I came up, I learned how to cut through barber school, right? Just like y'all.
Yeah.
And I got my reps up, but now there are a lot of people getting their reps up without having to go to barber school. And that's the biggest threat, I think, that and people just learning more about how to amplify their skill set through AI.
Yeah. I like what you're saying. One of the things that I would add with that, one of the threats is like you get this, but this does go into perception, like society's perception. You get this influx of people, and we were talking about this last year when we had the podcast. We were talking about like deregulation and how some places are really considering deregulating the fact that a barber even needs a license, or a cosmetologist or whatever. And that is a threat.
Yep.
It's a threat for the barber that doesn't want to change. It's a threat for the barber that does not want to grow. If you want to be the same barber that you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if you don't see too much variation in what you provide, then you are in danger of this wave coming of people, like you said, that don't need to get licenses. Even the industry might change. It doesn't require licenses. You're going to get drowned, or whatever it is that you provide is going to be watered down because so many people are going to be doing it. Yeah. And if you're in that same swimming pool, how would somebody differentiate you? That's the tough part. You're in the community pool, you know. So you have to learn.
Waters are being bloody for sure. I think to continue on your point, I think barbers are kind of like relaxing, right? They're saying, hey, AI is coming, but nobody's going to go to a AI barber, right? Nobody's going to go to a machine and have them cut their hair. And that's fair, right? Like, we all know this. That's a long ways away. Yeah. But what I think barbers are missing is that our industry will start to become more and more attractive for low-skilled workers. Follow what I'm saying here? So because we are AI proof, and other jobs like truck drivers aren't AI proof, where do you think they're going to go? Are they going to go back to school and try to get their master's degree? Nah, they're going to go to barbering, which has a low barrier of entry. So that's what I mean as far as threats. Like, don't think about AI as like, oh, well, I don't have to worry about that. Nah, more people are going to be coming and competing with you. And what you were saying, Brad, makes sense. Like, you're going to become just another McDonald's on that block, right? If you're not positioning yourself differently. because AI will bring more people to us.
And there's so many different ways to position yourself differently. I know you probably have some really, really good strategies on how to position. Like that's what one of the areas within your course is. But it's like, man, I hope people are hearing what we're saying right now, because it is a real threat. And it's not a threat to take money out of your pocket from the standpoint of what you have coming right now. They're going to come and take all your clients. That ain't it. Like growth happens with new blood. So if you can't get no new clients because you're not advancing and becoming newer yourself, then you're going to get left behind simply by you won't add quantity with the way that you're providing quality, because you won't be able to grow. And I think that's key with being able to position yourself the right way. When it comes down to your website, how are you attracting to people to your website? Do you have a way to make sure that you're capturing information from the clientele so that you can get back to them in a proper and a timely manner? AI can be your benefit if you use it now, before other people or other barbers catch a hold to it and how to use it. You could be using ChatGPT. You could be using all kind of stuff to make sure that your marketing, your language is correct on a website, your language in your follow-up emails, if you even do follow-up emails. If you are paying attention to how to use these new things that's coming for your business, you can grow exponentially, or at least differentiate yourself so much that you'll float as the tide rises. You'll be on top always because you're always growing. So I just wanted to again, raise what you're saying, like just lift it up, because what you're saying, I hope people are really hearing it, and I hope they're taking notes on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Delmar, you gotta close this out, man, because me and Mike, we gonna keep on talking, man.
Y'all dropping gems, man. Y'all dropping bombs.
Yeah, man. Like if y'all want to get into any more with what I with the course or any other thing, like I said, I'm open to just trying to give gems so barbers can open up their mind a little bit.
I think we have to have a part 2. We really need a part 2. Because, like you mentioned earlier, when it comes to like time, so many people only have such a long attention span, right? And we could try and make this as entertaining as possible, but they are literally learning in this episode. Like, man. This is an episode full of learning. So we want to almost like come back to the next class, right? Come back to the next class, because as your notepad is full for this one, your notepad will be full on the next one. We'll dive deeper inside of Mike's brain, understand a little bit more of some of his strategies, and also how you can become a part, how you can be a beneficiary of some of the things that he's dropping, because we trying to elevate you. Yeah. That's what we're here for. That's what Elevated Barbers Podcast is about. And we value guests like yourself, Mike, that are really, really elevating the industry. That's why we're doing what we do. We elevate the barbers that are elevating the industry, man. So 1,000 thank yous for today's episode, for real.
Sure. Appreciate y'all, man. I hope I was able to bring value not only to the audience, but to y'all, man. Like I think,
man,
y'all are the barbers that I really want to.
A light bulb went off for me.
Man. It's the barbers who are dedicated to uplifting the craft that I have a passion for. I know I can't help everybody. I don't want to help every barber, to be quite frank. I think there are a lot of people who see it as a hustle. And for the ones who want to use it as a career path to feed their family and to build, a legacy from, I can be a resource for you. So I'm looking forward to, the next conversation, y'all. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, we definitely having another one. We definitely
absolutely this season.
Yes, season 3, you're gonna see a repeat of this episode, because Mike he has too much value for us not to bring him back. All right, y'all. So we gonna have to put a cap on this. We keep extending it a little bit longer, but we gotta put a cap on this, man. This has been so outstanding, Mike. We thank you again for coming, Delmar. This has just been a fantastic episode. How would you close us out, Delmar? Drop the mic. He always got these drop the mic moments. Man.
Let's
go ahead and drop the mic.
I don't know if I got to drop the mic moment this time, but I'm just going to say, for those of you who are watching, go back, rewind, whatever you didn't catch, rewind it. This episode specifically, you're going to learn a lot. Like Mike was dropping gems, Brad was dropping gems. Like if you really want to progress forward as a barber in your career, watch this episode, tune into the Elevated Barbers Podcast.
All right, man. So this is it for this episode here on Elevated Barbers Podcast. Again, my name is Bradford Kelly, the business-minded barber. I'm here with Delmar the Prince, and he is giving royalty. But I'm also here with Ideal Barber, but his name is Mike Andrews, and he is giving us gems. So if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure that you like, subscribe, drop a comment, say something in this YouTube channel, because we want to understand that you're taking value from this. So until the next time, we are out, and it's always time to level up.
Peace.
The information that you're giving them is going to elevate them financially, mentally, emotionally, and going to rise, and they're going to elevate.
We are here trying to elevate barbers as they're elevating the industry.
The one and only Elevated Barbers Podcast. Let's start the show.